Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting us at this seminar. So I'm Severine Klein. I'm head of General Public Communication at CNES, which is the French space agency. So I don't know if you know the CNES. It's in comparison, you can say it's the same thing as NASA in the United States. So I'm going to talk to you about space, and I don't know if you really care about, but it's maybe a good example of what we can do with social media today. And I use this title, CNES on Facebook, because it's honestly a question we used to get a lot a few years ago. What on hell a very serious public organization can do on social media on Facebook? So I will try to give you some examples, maybe we can share about it. So as a background, CNES is made of a little more than 2,000 people, mostly engineers, working in 4 different locations, 2 in Paris, a big technical center in Toulouse, and of course the one you may know is the launch base in Kourou in French Guiana, where you can see Ariane lifting off a few times a year. We are working in 5 different fields. Of course, getting into space, that's obvious. We're developing some satellites in science. So, for example, we have a very big contribution to the Curiosity rover on Mars. We have a lot of astronomy mission, but we also work a lot on observation, Earth observation. So we have a lot of satellites observing oceans or atmosphere and trying to understand maybe what's dealing with the global change, for an example. And we do have in the contract we signed with the French government an outreach mission to inform and educate citizens, and especially the youngsters. So in the particular field of digital communication, we try to reach new audiences, so other than people who love space, people who love science, or people who already knows us. And we want to promote CNES and overall the benefits of space activities for everyone. Of course, we are talking about Earth observation, but we can also talk about navigation, about everything you have on your mobile phone and so on, everything dealing with the GPS, for example. So we use now social media to energize our image, and this is a very important thing. I will talk a little later. So before social media, CNES had a corporate website with a lot of targeted websites and basically no interaction at all with web users. And we had a very top-down approach to communication. So this is a little history of the CNES on social media. So we created our Facebook page in 2008, and then our Twitter account in 2009. And by that time, we only published a few links per week, links to our websites. But we did not have any precise strategy on social media. We did a lot of experiments. And we did other experiments a year later. So in 2010, we tried to organize some real-time communication events, what we call live tweets. I don't know if you're familiar with this social media words, or do I need to explain or not? No, it's okay. We did live tweets, for example, the Ariane launch. When Ariane is lifting off, we are tweeting maybe 100 times during the night to tell the people the story of the launch. And we did that on every space-related events. And then we decided to take it to another level, and we organized our first real events, meaning that we did not only us tweet about the Ariane launch, but we invited bloggers and web users to come over and to attend the space events and invite them to tweet to their own network. And this to reach further audiences. So last year we we think we made a lot of experiments, rather positive, but we felt it was about time to define a more precise strategy and define some precise goals and see what we could do about this. So we've been working now for 6 or 8 months with a web agency. We try to define something more targeted. And for example, we launched our Google Plus account and created a related community very specifically dedicated to bloggers, to space fans. And I will talk about this a little later too. Something we wondered when we defined this strategy, of course, is to know who were following us on Facebook and Twitter. And it's very interesting to notice that it's really not the same people in both of these networks. On Facebook here, we reach people mostly in their private sphere. So their family, their friends, and it's for us definitely a tool aimed at a very wide audience. And especially to the younger people between 18 and 35, people that we do not really reach with our corporate website, we know that. So that's for Facebook. And on the other hand, on Twitter, it's a completely different audience. And we noticed that more than 30% of the followers were actually journalists or people working in the communication field. So meaning that we do have a potential with the leader, the thought leaders, and very specific communities we are going to talk to. So you will have the presentation and see the details. You can see we have what we call geeks, also IT fans, and of course we have a lot of students and scientific and technical experts. So a completely different public. And this was a very important discovery for us. So I would like to meet these people we call the space geeks. You can see on that set that their typical profile, but what's really important to see that these people are so passionate about space that their commitment does almost have any limit. They can pay themselves to come from Japan to France only because we offer them the opportunity to visit the Toulouse Space Center. For these people, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. These people are very important to us because they have a lot of ideas, they communicate a lot about space, they have blogs, there are a wide audience on Twitter or Facebook, and they help us disseminate our key messages. So they really can act as relays, and they can be a channel of influence. And we have this community of space fans, but we think we also have a really good potential with other communities. For example, I was talking about Earth observation, and this is a topic which is more difficult to us to get the people interested in that topic. So maybe we could try to work with some communities, not space fans, but people who are interested in environmental topics. After we defined a more targeted strategy, and here is a short list of what we do now on social media. On Facebook, we post links, videos, pics, games or quiz or fun facts. We do not post on Facebook some very technical information because we want this to be aimed at a very wide audiences. But we post some invitation to space-related events, public events, or local events around where people are living. For example, an exhibition, this is the kind of information we post over there. On Twitter, Twitter is the perfect network to organize real-time events, as I said before, so live tweet or tweet stories or tweet up or everything with a tweet, of course, and we use it to recruit some bloggers to very specific events we organized for these people who are, we call these people our ambassadors because they relay our own messages. And we, of course, we use Twitter to talk to these people all day, not all day long, but we use it anyway. And the new one is Google+. So, of course, the main reason we created this, it's because it's Google, so for SEO reasons. But on Google, you also have the opportunity to organize what we call Hangouts. So a Hangout on Google Plus is a free video chat where you can have up to 10 people talking together. So this is an excellent way for us to let the bloggers have a direct access to CNES engineers and ask questions about a specific topic. And a few months ago, the CNES president agreed to participate in a hangout. So we chose 5 or 6 bloggers, and these bloggers came with their question on the French space policy, and the CNES president answered to them just with spontaneity, if I can say. So this is definitely something we're going to organize once or twice a year. On Google+, we also created a private community called Space for Me, which is really dedicated to space fans and ambassadors. And here is the typical social media week at CNES. I wanted to show you this because we did experiment a lot, and we still do, and we do have to improvise every day. That's the game. You have to take the risk on social media. But if we want to reach certain goals, we have to have a plan. So every day now we know what we're going to post on Twitter, on Google+, on Facebook, because responding to this strategy we define. So just a few pictures we took during the space event I was talking about. So that's what sorry, the first tweet up we organized for an Ariane 5 liftoff. So we invited over 15 bloggers near Paris to see the launch and to talk, to ask questions to experts. And we also invited a few comic strip artists who draw some fun sketches and published it on their blogs afterwards. This is another space event, and this was the biggest event we ever organized in Toulouse. We invited over 60 bloggers at the Toulouse Space Center to attend to a docking. So basically, it was a cargo docking to the International Space Station. So they spent the night over at the Toulouse Space Center, had the opportunity to talk and ask questions to the CNES engineers working on that mission. Because there is a control center over there. And you can there all happy and screaming and making pictures. And this generated a lot of blog articles, pictures, all these people took and posted afterwards. So for us, it was really a really good operation. Same again. And this is these are a few screenshots of the Hangouts. And sorry, it's not Gangout, but Hangouts on Google+. And you can see Eric, who is our curiosity expert on Mars, talking to bloggers. You can see at the bottom of the screen, and the blogger on the right who is asking questions. So this is basically what looks like a Hangout. If I can share with you a few feedback, I'm just trying to find my notes because I'm a little lost. We do have extremely positive feedbacks from all the web users. When you see Ariane at the news, you see, yes, what's the big deal? Yeah, it happens maybe 5 times a year, and now it's very known. But actually, when people are involved in the timeline, they became aware again that the space activities are not that common and that the people working on that are just terrific. And that's very good for our image, for the CNES image. And they thank us a lot for making the efforts to share all this with them. We also noticed that events are the key. We can post every day, but it's really around the events that we make a lot of traffic. Besides, we may have to admit that it remains hard to convey our key messages because during an event, the people are focused on the timeline. When people think about space, they think about astronauts floating in space, or they think about Mars, they think about stars. They do not think about Earth observation, and you don't dream a lot about Earth observation, but that's what we do, and we have a lot of messages to deliver on that topic, and it remains hard to do that, but that's why we define a specific strategy about that. And if we look at the figures, last year we noticed that Facebook and Twitter were the true primary sources of traffic to our corporate websites, which is a real progress with the day before. Of course, Google is the first. I do not talk about search engines because nobody is better than Google's. But this is, for me, a very encouraging result because it shows that people are actually using these networks. This doesn't say that the people come from the CNES Facebook page. It says that there is a lot of people coming from Facebook, and maybe that's because they already somebody talked about space, about us, on their Facebook page and then come. But it's anyway a proof that people are actually using this. And each of the two networks generates more traffic than our own space-related sphere. I'm talking about all the space websites, the European Space Agency, the scientific website, or media talking about space. And we also noticed that on Facebook, the average level of engagement observed for CNES is twice as high as the typical level for commercial brands. So all this is, for us, quite encouraging. And to conclude, I wanted to show you this audience curve. Basically, you have almost nothing before the beginning of 2030. And that's when we began to define a strategy, define a plan, and then you can see that there is much more traffic generated on our Facebook page afterwards. So it's just an example, and of course we're going to have to measure this maybe after a whole year of data. Thank you for your attention. I wanted to share you this piece. You have to understand French to get it. It's really not possible to translate it in English.